friends, welcome to Taci Studio. I'm Taci, and this week we are going to talk about Colorwork socks and how to achieve the best tension for when you're doing your colorwork. I know that achieving better tension is one of our biggest goals. That is especially important when you want to have a garment or socks that fits beautifully, but it's also comfortable and it has even tension. So get ready while I take this challenge and I try to knit a perfect tension in Colorwork socks with you. In this video, my objective is to share with you a technique that I use for myself that makes the perfect tension on Colorwork socks, just so we can ensure that your project is going to turn out beautiful and fit perfectly for you. There are several techniques, and many knitters I know struggle just like I did with consistent tension, and especially on when we're doing and using multiple colors, or even if it is just two colors, sometimes the tension changes when you're using two yarns. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about my journey and how I got to knit socks. I have always wanted to knit socks, and I have always had a hard time to make the socks fit for myself. I also not always liked the feeling of the hand knitted socks on my feet. I have very sensitive feet, and my knitted socks have always in some way bothered me to wear, especially to wear with shoes. But one of the things I notice is that that happens when my tension wasn't very good, because the socks were too loose. I have only one time knit a sock that it was too tight, but it could not even go through my heels. Today, I think that we're mostly going to focus on the tension on the colorwork. I have talked about my journey from last year. I was trying, and my objective with knitting socks last year was to knit the most socks that I could, and I think I made 6 or 8 of them last year. I bought a book from Summer Lee Designs, and although I do love many designers and how they teach how to knit socks, and there are several amazing people that teach and knit socks. However, Summer Lee is my guru for knitting socks, because I found some of her patterns, and I will link that below for you on the show notes. But the book that she published last year was what put me into now loving socks, loving to knit socks, and even trying to do colorwork socks. Her book is The Sock Project: Colorful, Cool Socks to Knit and Show Off. And I have to say that each chapter of this book, it's better than the other. She has detailed information on how to do, and several different patterns on how to do many different socks, many different techniques. And I enjoyed and loved each chapter of this book. I have gone through the whole entire book. I have read and tried several different techniques, and the colorwork part of it for me comes from she released a sock club. I believe it's called the Colorwork Cuff Club, and every month she releases a different pattern for a different design, and you get a basic sock pattern with it, and she just gives once a month a different design for the color, for the cuff of the sock. And with that, I started doing a couple of them, and I feel that I felt terribly because there are so many different techniques, and everybody talks about something different that you can do to have better tension on your color work. And I have tried several of them, but today I'm going to show you what worked best for me, because some people suggest for you to work just with the 9-inch needle when you're doing the color work part of the socks. Some people suggest to change the needle size. Some people suggest, if you use double pointed, to change to magic loop. And I will show you a couple examples. Well, I'll show you one example of, I was trying to do Summerly March color work, cuff color work, which is adorable and I love it, but I tried first to do with the same size needles that I had, and I always start my socks with a 9 millimeters, because it seems to me that it's a little bit easier for me to start my socks with the 9 millimeters. And then I changed to magic loop to do my rib, and I started the collar work, so I changed one size up. I do my socks with about 60 or 64 is my number, and I stitches, number of stitches, and I did the collar work with and I usually use a size 1 US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeters, and in here I changed to a size, to do the collar work I changed to a size 2, which I believe is a 2.75 millimeters. And as you can see, it's not just because of the rib here, but this grew so much that the sock is way too big on my leg. And I tried to make the decrease some stitches here, and I kept trying, and this was like too big for me, so I gave up on this sock. And now I'm doing a knit along with Marlene from Marlene Knits, and she's doing the quilty cabin sock pattern, and I'm adventuring to try this. And I tried a different technique, which is what I'm going to show you here today, and this time this is working for me. I am doing these socks with 56 stitches. I'm doing this size, and I will let you know which size that one is on the pattern, and that's the third size for the pattern. This here is the quilty cabin socks by Horse Feather Fiber Arts, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the technique that I am using to do this collar work and how this is working for me. The sock is fitting my leg. I'm able to pass this through my heel, and I think that this one is going to work beautifully. So what I'm going to do is, if you stay tuned, I'm going to share with you the technique that I'm using and show you how it's working for me. So as we have talked before, there are several techniques that are important when we're talking about the gauge and the tension for how your socks or your color work is going to turn out. But three things that are very important, and three techniques that is important, is to check your stitch gauge to make sure that you have the gauge that is required for the work you're doing on your socks. How you hold your yarn will determine also your gauge, and something that it's important is to observe your the yarn dominance. As you and yarn dominance is pretty much the dominant color. It usually is the color that you want to stand up more on your work. And in this case for me, I wanted the star to be dominant and to pop up more. So I will usually keep the dominant color on my left hand, and the background color is going to be held on my right hand. And it's important to maintain consistency every time you stop your work and you come back to do that. This way it will also stay consistent with how it looks. So now I'm going to show you, I'm on my last row for this star, and I'm going to follow the pattern to do the very last row, and I'm going to show you what I do since I told you already that I did not change my needle size. The needles I'm using here are the same that I'm using for the socks. Some people do change needle sizes to a bigger size so they can have more control over the color changes and the floats. For me, what it works the best is, first, make sure that I maintain my yarn dominance, and second, I turn my work inside out. I continue to work with the 9-inch sock needle because that keeps also my work consistent, and I have more control over my floats and pulling the floats out when my needles are like this. So I just work on my socks with the non-dominant or background color on the back, with my work inside out. Then, as you can see, I have more control over my float, and that the float is stretched. And now this way I can change my color, and just to keep in mind that I'm also working with the yarn held in two hands. So I'm not, some people will change and drop the yarn as they do color work. I work with the yarn, both yarns held at the same time, one in each hand. And then again, I'm going to change the colors to the change the color to the background color. And can you see how I have more control over my float because it's inside out, and how much this stretches? So this way, not only it's really even, but also when I work on it, I have control over how much I want to pull. So now I'm doing and changing the color again. Then if you want, you can pull this a little bit like we usually do even when we're working on the right side. And you can do the same thing, but I feel that for me, I did not even need to change the needle size, because when I did change the needle size, I showed you on the other sample, it turned out way too big. So now again, I have control and complete control over my float, and I changed the color, and I am doing the same thing here again. And when I go change colors, I can make sure that my float is stretched as much as I feel that I need, and the same with the other color, and I have control over that. And this is all that I do, and when you're done, you can just turn your work back to the size and the way that you need to turn, and you can continue and change your color. And I feel that it gives me a lot more control, and this time it worked really well for me. So I hope it works for you also, and I hope this is helpful. Now, the key insight is understanding how to balance your yarn tension while switching colors, in that can completely transform your knitting experience. To wrap up, I want to remind you that practice and using the right techniques will lead you to perfect tension in your Colorwork socks. Well, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that that's going to inspire you to do some Colorwork socks, and that you have fun doing that. I hope that you continue to knit, crochet, embroider, do any of the crafts that makes you happy. Until I see you again, I hope you stay healthy, and if you like these videos and like what I do here, please subscribe and click the like button so I can bring more videos like that for you. Until I see you again, stay healthy and happy crafting. Ciao!